Hi, I'm Sean from Bean Me Up. We are a 25-year-old restaurant and over the years have met some incredible people doing some amazing things. I've spent hours meeting, listening, talking and discussing with some amazing people, and this has inspired me to do this podcast so that I can share these discussions. Today our guest is Abhishek Roychowdhury. Now Abhishek is not only a very dear friend, but he's been a customer at Bean Me Up for, I would say, 15 years, if not more. And we have had so many laughs and amazing conversations and discussions about various things at Bean Me Up. And I would like to share some of the conversations that we have in this podcast. Abhishek, in the spotlight.
Yeah, feeling a little nervous.
So let's start with your childhood. You have you had a very, I think, special childhood because being from an army, your dad being in the armed forces, it must have been so very interesting because you didn't grow up in one place. You were like raised probably in around the country.
All over the country. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to tell us what is pros and cons of it? I'm sure there are pros and cons of that because you can't make friends because you make friends and then you have to leave after a few years, and those are the cons, I think, and the pros would be like you get to like be in different places all the time.
I guess it would change based on how you are seeing things. It can be a good thing making new friends and letting the old ones go. But
Yeah.
we have this mindset that we kind of stick on to the familiar a lot more than exploring the unknown. So the army life kind of allows you to travel and see new places, meet new people every few years, change that landscape you are in, which can be a good thing. It's just your perspective, I guess.
Yeah. And then later on, you chose to join the army as well.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's not your cup of tea. So, what happened over there?
Yeah, this was like a little easier for me to follow in my dad's footsteps. The path was already there, it was laid out for me. I just had to do a little bit of groundwork, preparing myself to join the armed forces and mentally condition myself to be able to take all that stress and strain.
Yeah.
So things didn't go as planned with the army stint. I guess the universe had different plans. I finished my training out there. I spent 13 months.
What was
Uh,
the training like? Like, what was? Would you like for anybody, people who are watching and people who are like people, because people look up to the armed forces.
yeah.
So would you say that some young guy out there watching today, would you s- would you suggest that he should go and join the army today if there somebody is not sure and they are passionate about or they are patriotic maybe, but do you think that is the right thing to do to join the army? I'm sure it is the right thing to do, but is it something that you would tell the youth of today to do, or would you rather tell the youth today to just be an entrepreneur, or because everybody today wants to be an entrepreneur, that is the new
Yeah.
cool thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
I,
also
I
with
don't
this
think.
Agniveer, I don't know if you're familiar with this. Now there's this Agniveer thing happening.
Yes.
Let's not get into the politics of it.
I'm aware of it.
But yeah, so can you just briefly can we discuss about whether it is the most optimal thing for somebody to do today, like
I
join the
mean,
armed forces?
as a human being, it is difficult for a human being to go and kill another human being. It is not easy. But this violence that we grow up with, starting with the food that we eat, makes it easier for us to go and kill another human being. So it usually starts with cruelty towards animals, which somehow percolates or moves on to other life forms. And then you can be violent towards other human beings as well. You can kill, you can maim, you can do whatever you feel like, which is the way the world is. And joining the army seems a glorified thing. There is a lot of respect given to army officers, officials, but logically speaking, I don't think anyone would want to join the armed forces because it puts your life at risk.
But at
And
the end of the day, aren't they just taking orders? Like people who are in the front line
yeah,
are just taking orders. They're just there because they are just doing what their bosses are telling them to do.
it's the
Like in any
same.
job,
It's the
I
same.
suppose.
It's the same thing happening on both sides of the fine. I mean, if you look at India or if you look at Pakistan, the armed forces trained on both sides are told that if you don't kill the other guy is gonna kill you. So you are basically trained to kill. You are there to save your own ass. It's a job, period. So if people feel that there is nothing much to look forward in life, and if they feel that the armed forces is the way for them, it's a job, and if you can do it and get through all that guilt, perhaps the trauma of killing another human being, it's easier said than done. I know people who have been through crazy situations in
There's
the Indian
PTSD. We
army.
all know now. There's PTSD and
Yes,
post-traumatic
yes. I
stress
mean,
disorder. All that involved with.
if you survive that, you will probably have to deal with post-traumatic stress disorders and stuff. But a lot of them don't really make it. I know some officers who were amazing human beings. Like they must have served the Indian Army for a few years and killed in combat. I don't think it's worth it. No
But
war.
somebody has to do it, no? Like, but somebody has to protect the borders, don't you think so? Like, so if with
This is the
this
big
argument,
dilemma. This is
you
the
it's a
Mahabharat question, where Krishna is talking to Arjuna and trying to convince Arjuna to go and fight with his own brothers and kill them. But here is the tricky part. So I'm no, I'm in. I'm not a person who's gonna say this is right or this is wrong because it's not for me to say.
but from your own
Each
experience, so from your own experience, so you decided to drop off from the training
I think
of when you were.
the universe kind of put me in a place where I had no other option left. It all started off with this weird stomach ache, which took me to the hospital periodically again and again, and they sent me for some endoscopy tests to Lucknow, and things didn't work there. And I spent a lot of time outside the academy in my final term, just before my passing out parade, which was a little strange for me to understand. But eventually, when I came back, my postmates were all ready to pass out, and I was also supposed to pass out. But just 4 days before my passing out parade, I missed a passing out parade practice in the morning, and I got relegated on disciplinary ground because of that. I failed the term. I came back, and then I just felt demotivated after a month of staying in the academy. The officers were not being fair, were not being nice to me, and I felt a little off. And that was it. I just made up my mind that I'm not going to continue. And it was a difficult one to leave the academy because you have to pay a lot of money, 700 rupees a day. So for 13 months, it was a bomb for my father to pay. And I had to get myself thrown out on disciplinary ground. So I basically stopped going for all my classes for about a month. They tried convincing me to go on and continue, but I had already made up my mind. So yeah, that departure from the Indian Army was a little tricky, but it happened. And I'm very happy that I'm not there in a way. But I'm also happy that I went through it because it broke a lot of barriers in my mind, physically, mentally, emotionally. But the spiritual aspect of my life really began only much after I reached Goa actually.
Oh,
And Beam Me
nice.
Up. A lot of things changed with Beam Me Up in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I'm very happy to know that. Have you? People keep telling me, but I don't know what it is. What is the thing? But it is maybe it's the food that people eat when they come here. It's the vibe. It is. A
It's
lot of people have very pleasant experiences, including myself, of course.
yes.
But I think it's different for everybody. The kind of experience they have, and
Yeah.
then and then they keep coming back because it is like the second home for a lot of people.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Um, Beam Me Up is very special in so many ways. I mean, if you just walk, or if you're like passing this road, and you see that man sitting in that meditation posture in the lotus position, without a face, but with these different colors around him, you know something is on. You know that this place is like calling, and
It's yeah, yeah, yeah.
that is what brought me in. And the name, of course, Bean Me Up. I love beans. I love rajma.
Uh-huh.
So for me, Beam Me Up, I love UFOs and the whole thing about aliens and stuff. So for me, Beam Me Up is just perfect.
It just resonated with you when you were.
At so many levels, it resonated with me. And What got me curious was the vegetarian vegan aspect of Beat Me Up. For me, it was something very fresh and very new. I was always eating everything like most folks do, and that brought that shift in my perspective. Started eating vegan food and became a little militant vegan for a while, and then relaxed a bit later on. But I think that kind of set the tone for my life moving forward after that. Coming to Bean Me Up definitely changed my
Oh,
life.
wow. Thanks. I'm glad that
Mostly
there was some
Charlie.
shift within you after coming here. Yeah, yeah. So,
Undeniably.
one other thing about you is that you are very pro herb, pot, cannabis, marijuana, whatever, and you are. I think you have a quite a good knowledge about these, like this plant.
Uh,
You also live a few months in the mountains, and I think you're quite the connoisseur when somebody wants to know about it. You know about the medicinal aspects of it. So this is something that very interesting thing that I would like to discuss with you because for the longest time, I think even today, cannabis is illegal in the country. But just recently, medicinal use of cannabis is now authorized by the government.
yeah.
So, can we just quickly talk? I know earlier we were talking about it. So, in India, for example, like we said earlier, cannabis is used spiritually in religions. It is also used recreationally
Yeah.
in religions. For example, like in Holi, people have bhang, and people also smoke it who are the followers of Lord Shiva, and they say that it is something that the god himself smokes.
Yeah.
But there are also several negative connotations to it, and the West actually had a big influence in banning it in India. So, and now it is slowly reviving. I think there are still the people who are working on. There's some cases in the Supreme Court where they are fighting to legalize it.
Yeah. That's a big question to
But you
answer,
can just
actually.
say it in a nutshell
Yeah.
about like from like what exactly from the because it has been
See,
used in India for
first of
centuries.
all, a plant being made illegal is ridiculous to start with. I mean, who gave anyone the authority to make a plant illegal? That is my first question. And that should be the last one, actually, because that should change the laws and it should make people question why is this illegal in the first place if it's being also sold as medicine, on the other hand. Doesn't make any sense. So when you start asking questions and you
Is it
start
because
digging
people
deeper,
abuse it? I mean, I think because I can give you a good example also, like to play the devil's advocate.
uh-huh.
You can see like something, a country like Thailand, who has in 2022, they had legalized the recreational use of cannabis. And now the government is regretting this decision and they want to roll back and make it only uh, use it only for medicinal purposes. So that's a example right there. So the government now is regretting the fact because uh, of the bastardization of like of the plant over there. It is being used from everything from chewing gums to like there's like neon signs everywhere. Well, I've not been recently to Thailand after it was, but from whatever I have kind of understood and looked up on it, so the government has regretted its decision to legalize it. So what is your take on that?
I think we live in a society which is primarily consumer based and we like buying things. And that is the reason why cannabis got into the mainstream uh, in Thailand, especially with all of these chewing gums and different cannabis based products, cigarettes, alcohol, wines. It's happening in the US as well. But that is just, I mean, that is a direct effect of first making it illegal. You first make it illegal, and people have been using it anyway, and they know the value of it, and the kind of profit you can generate from selling cannabis-based products is phenomenal. It's like it's going to replace alcohol and nicotine cigarettes in a few months, and people know this. People who are in the business, they know it, and they are profiting from it. People need to be a little more sensible and realize that if you can grow your own plant, you don't need to go and buy toxic substances in the market, or even abuse it. Like the tendency to abuse substances in our society is quite large. People abuse alcohol, food, nicotine, a lot of things. People, I mean, we humans, we need to kind of draw the line somewhere and realize that these things are only good when you use them properly. Tendency to abuse substances is not going to take you anywhere. People can abuse alcohol, people can abuse ganja as well. If you smoke too much of it, you'll probably just pass out. The harmful effects aren't as grave as drinking too much of alcohol or smoking too many cigarettes, but it's still not serving you. If it's making you lazy, lethargic, dull, which it does, any kind of psychedelic, any substance that you use, it kind of dulls your consciousness to some extent. Ganja also can do that if you abuse it. But if you use it and if you know how to make the best of it for your meditative practices, for your yogic practices, a lot of people use ganja. Now, when you start looking at the whole spectrum of different human beings using cannabis, and then you start realizing that, oh, it is not the substance, it is the user who needs to be more responsible
So
towards
it is
what
no
he's doing.
different from alcohol consumption then, because alcohol also is injurious to health. It is addictive. I don't think cannabis is addictive though, but there's
Cannabis is not addictive, it's
it's a
not
mixed.
injurious to your health either. So it is not the same. And it is not the same for many reasons. Alcohol is fermented, and anything fermented we know has lower prana quality in there. And anything which is low in its prana and it's low in its frequency tends to be a magnet for lesser frequencies around you. So when people speak about demonic possessions or people speak about acting weird under the influence of alcohol, they're actually being influenced by low frequency entities which we cannot see in this world of ours. But they are there. And that is another topic for
Wow, that's
discussion.
a whole
That
different
opens a
subject.
whole
I
can
think
of
that
worms.
yeah. So let's stick to I think the what all of us can resonate with. I
Sure.
would say. So the medicinal use of cannabis. So now government has finally said the Ministry of Ayush has made it legal. You can use cannabis if a doctor has prescribed to you. You
Yeah.
can use it for your medicinal purposes. So what there are claims that cannabis can cure cancer and insomnia and all of this. So um,
That's true.
yeah,
It does all
what
of that. It's been mentioned in Ayurveda as Vijaya, and the word Vijaya literally means
victory?
victory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it basically speaks about victory over all maladies. That is what cannabis is known for. It cures everything, almost everything. Eye infections, skin diseases, insomnia, lack of appetite, uh, lack of a good mood. It can enliven your spirits if you use it properly. It can give you new perspectives. It also opens your pineal gland, your third eye, which is often not spoken about. But if you look this up information online, I have been through this, so I know this. Using a non-fluoride toothpaste and decalcifying your pineal using, let's say, coconut water with lime, and if you start sun gazing, that also helps open your pineal. Cannabis, for me personally, when I was by myself using cannabis and not really using it recreationally, I was becoming more meditative, and I could literally feel like a pulsing sensation out here on the brow area, which I think is significant for people to realize that if you can actually awaken your intuition, you can traverse through this world better, because you will be more discerning where to go, where not to go, who to speak to, who not to speak to, who to hang out with, and not to hang out with. So your intuition is so important. Otherwise, we become like cattle. We be directed. We be told by the governments what to do, where to go, what jabs to take. So yeah, they want that. That is why they are called government. They want to govern the minds of the masses. And we need to start asking some questions and taking our power back, trusting in plants, knowing their worth.
So how does this medical cannabis is taken? Like, is it the CBD extract from the cannabis that is uh,
Medicinally, cannabis is being sold in the market as extracted CBD drops and the extract itself. It also has You also have CBD and THC products, which have both. CBD is considered to be, it is believed to have a little more of a calming effect on the mind. On the other hand, THC is believed to be the one which has the psychoactive properties in there, which gets you high. But also, THC has been proven to kill cancer cells when it gets into your system. There have been n number of studies done on mice given cannabis with tumors and stuff, and the tumors have diminished and disappeared after giving them cannabis oil with THC in there. There have been many human examples as well. People have been administered cannabis oil with the THC and CBD both in there, 1:1 ratio, and it works as a very powerful medicine.
good? I think a lot of people are using it on their pets as well because that is supposed to be really good for pets who
Uh,
have pedigree pets who are really sick, and a lot of them get cancers and these growths and stuff like that. I
It's
think
amazing for everyone.
cannabis is quite proven quite successful
Yes,
from the people that I've spoken to
absolutely.
for as medication for their pets and also for humans
Yeah.
for sure.
What
Uh,
is good for us, it is also good for all animals, for most part. For most part. So, like things like chocolate may be good for us, but not for dogs. Grapes, avocados may be good for us, but not for dogs. But most of these herbs that are there, like for instance, turmeric, kalonji, all of these things have tremendous medicinal value and should be used in our food and in our pets' food as well. You can add a few of these things. Kalonji oil again has got tremendous medicinal properties. They say that it can cure anything
it's
but
also
death.
known as in the West. I think it's known as black seed oil.
Black seed oil or
Yeah.
onion seed oil.
Okay.
Tremendous medicinal benefits.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so we'll come back to the cannabis part of it because I think a lot of people are quite. There's quite a gray area with regards to using it recreationally also. Although it is illegal, but don't you think, like for example, I would say in some states in India, like Gujarat and now Bihar, the consumption of alcohol is illegal or it's
Mm-hmm.
banned.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a blanket ban. So it's illegal to consume alcohol there. But that creates a big black market. So don't you think that is happening in terms because we all know that what is the right way to call it? Is it marijuana, pot, hemp? What's the right
Ganja.
way to
In
ganja?
India, and
So
most of the world, we call it ganja.
okay, so let's say ganja. So we know that it is still available everywhere, although it is illegal.
Uh-huh.
It is same like the alcohol, like I said, in certain
Yeah, yeah,
states.
yeah.
So that isn't. Don't you think by legalizing it, uh, it will shut down the black market? Like,
Yes,
what do you have to think about it? Because right now people are doing all this side hustle to get calling like all this dodgy
yeah, I get you.
dealers,
Yeah,
and we're like, hey, trying to be all discreet about it. But we all know that it is being consumed quite widely.
yeah. So if it is made legal, of course, the black market won't disappear overnight. That will still exist. They will find new ways to become mainstream. Once it's legal, then they have nothing to fear really. They can actually go clean and be more open about it. You'll have thekas and supermarkets and shops, different counters selling
But
cannabis
again, coming
products.
back to my previous point, that is what is happening in Thailand, where the government has realized that people are abusing it.
The government is being pushed, like all governments in the world are being pushed to change laws and mend laws for different agendas. Now, I'm no one to comment on what's happening in Thailand because I haven't quite seen the situation there. But I don't think cannabis would have, cannabis legalization would have such a negative impact on the Thai economy. On the other hand, it is boosted
It is,
economy.
yeah, I did a little bit, I looked up a little bit about it. So, there are about 80,000 licensed cannabis shops
Can you
that have
imagine?
opened up in Thailand after when it was legalized in 2022.
Yeah.
Cannabis is about a $1 billion industry in Thailand at the moment.
And it's
As
not
of
going back
next
anytime
year,
soon.
and this is a BBC documentary that I watched, and it is about a 1.2. I know you are not a big fan of BBC, but it's
No, no,
a
I'm impartial towards information, but I know information
so
from where it's coming.
as of next year, it's going to be a $1.2 billion industry in Thailand. So it is bringing in a lot of revenue.
Of course.
So, but the government saying like, hey, but we this is not working for us.
No,
Like
they can never roll it back. There are so many people who've invested their
the health
lives
minister of
earning.
Thailand said that in that documentary that they are considering serious considerations to roll it back. So
It's not going to happen. And people in Thailand also know this. People who've invested those 80,000 businesses are not going to roll back because the health minister thinks. The whole world needs medicine. The whole world is in tremendous need for healing.
yeah,
We are going through a pandemic post-apocalyptic scenario where people are falling like flies.
yeah. But there's this gentrification of the humble pot or the humble herb, or like you like to call it, ganja. That is happening. It is
The,
no longer just the humble thing that it is. If it is mixed with all these substances to make a chewing gum or to make what have you, like this, used with tobacco, which even you are not a very strong advocate of,
yeah,
to
absolutely not.
consume recreationally, to consume the plant with
And mixing it with
ganja,
tobacco is a
or
bad idea.
to mix hashish with tobacco,
Tobacco is a bad idea.
because tobacco is highly addictive.
Mhm.
So can you shed some light, because there are a lot of, like, there are some people out there who consume this with, and tobacco is the only substance they consume that with, but you are not a very strong advocate of that.
That's a very interesting and very important question that you have asked, Sean. And I think a lot of people will benefit from this. People are using tobacco because they have no other option, and they believe so. However, there are options. It's just that they haven't been explored yet by the people. There is a herb called mullein, which is called jungli tambaku in the mountains. So while I've been living in Himachal, I've been talking to the locals there, and I've been talking about this plant. Locals out there also are using BDs and cigarettes and stuff to smoke. But when I spoke about the plant and I mentioned about mullein, they looked at the plant and they were like, "We've seen this plant being used by our ancestors. Like their grandfather used to put the leaves of that plant in his hookah and mix it with something and smoke." Now, what is that something that they were used to mix it with is anyone's guess. But I believe that they were using mullein instead of tobacco for the longest time. So this tobacco industry is thanks to the West. We probably had BDs at some point, which is not.
But isn't there
Uh,
tobacco in BD as well?
that's what I'm getting at. Tobacco in BDs is not the same as tobacco in cigarettes.
Yeah,
Only when you smoke it, you know it. That is treated with thousands of chemicals.
tar and a lot of other things to keep it burning. Yeah, yeah. So
Tar is a byproduct of smoking anything, really. There is tar in it. In tobacco, there is more because it's treated with so many chemicals. There is arsenic, there's a lot of shit in tobacco which people don't know about. Uh, but when you start digging deeper, you start asking questions about your own habit. You start questioning, do I really need tobacco if I love cannabis so much? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. If you love cannabis, then you will realize at some point that using the two uh, in a combination is actually creating more chaos in your life, because the habit and this craving every 2 hours to smoke a chillum or a joint is your body craving nicotine. It's not craving the cannabis. That physical craving that we have in our bodies is your body going down with the nicotine levels and asking for more every few hours. And you don't want to smoke a cigarette because you know it's shit, so you end up smoking 10 joints in a day or 50 chillums in a day. That's exaggeration, but yeah, there are people who smoke about 25 chillums in a day, which is definitely abuse of the substance. It sounds like it's cool, but it's not. What's happening here, what's happening here is often ignored. But we are all of this. We are not just.
So what is the chillam? Basically, chillam, is it an Indian thing or is it smoking outside of India as
Chillum
well?
is a pipe. Traditionally, chillum is from India, but it's been used all over the world. It's a way to smoke hashish or cannabis uh, ceremonially. So when sadhus and these babas in the mountains smoke it, they don't roll it up. This rolling concept, or even the pipes that we have, the glass ones, it's a very Western concept. In ancient India, we always used earthen clay pipes
Yeah.
and with a stopper so that the stuff doesn't really get into your system. And you like puff on it, you pass it around
Yeah.
ceremonially.
So my question now is like, if people are smoking it recreationally, and in the West that is hybridized this thing, the humble weed, like I like to call it, or a pot.
Yeah.
So what is happening with the? What do you think about this? Super. It is called like what? Super, or it is
Super
called,
skunk,
yeah, or there's many. It is
hydro.
basically hydroponically grown with like high, like mind-boggling content, THC content. So, what is your take on that?
So making the plant illegal in the West pushed things underground, and people started growing stuff indoors. And because they were growing the stuff indoors under these very strong lights and with all the fertilizer and all of that, the byproduct, the final product that comes out of it has got 40 times more THC than a plant that grows outdoors. That has a negative effect when you abuse it. When you end up smoking like a few bongs of that highly concentrated THC based pot, you're basically unproductive for hours, maybe days. You'll be just passed out going for the basic minimum, the food, the water, the bed. And
And
yeah,
eating, of course, because then you get like,
yeah, you
and
end up
then
with
you're eating
munchies,
probably crap because
fast food, junk, Coca Cola, all the sodas, and all of that stuff. A lot of people in the West
you
went
crave.
that way.
Do you crave sweet when like?
That is a way to promote it. And I mean, I've seen a lot of Hollywood films which speak about cannabis directly linked to getting the munchies and abusing a lot of food and drinking, but it's not always the case, especially not when you are using cannabis that is grown freely outdoors. The cannabis that
Like
is
in the
grown
mountains, you mean?
indoors,
Like
like
that
in the
is
mountains,
naturally grown in India. That is freely,
yeah, I
that
mean,
grows.
it doesn't necessarily give you the munchies. You can eat if you want to, but I know people who actually fast after smoking cannabis. It helps with a lot of things. It's just how you want to train your mind. If you want to smoke cannabis and not eat, you can. If you want to smoke cannabis and eat, you can. It is triggering a lot of subconscious states. See, food is directly linked with your creative center, your sex center. So if you're not getting enough intimacy and sex in your life, perhaps you'll crave a lot of food. That connection is also there, which often is overlooked because we are only looking at cannabis smoking. But cannabis smoking is bringing up the subconscious states. And if you're in your subconscious, there's a lack of intimacy. It's going to come out as perhaps go for that burger or that pizza.
Do you meditate?
I don't really do meditation as a separate act, and I don't think it is that either. I think meditation is just being in that present moment, being in that Zen state wherever you are, all the time. So for me, meditation is an ongoing practice. It's like waking up, being aware, even dreaming, being aware of what is happening. Of course, you may not remember all your dreams, but if you become aware of your waking and dream states, you can actually start controlling your dreams. And if you start controlling your dreams, you actually start changing your waking life as well, which is so true. And often we're not talking about this stuff because we are not paid enough attention to our dreams, or we are not taught that your dreams are important. But they're actually showing us things that affect our waking life.
But then you, because the dreams can be quite like uh, all over the place. So, but you need to understand what your dreams mean. Probably you need to read a book about that. I don't know.
Yeah, dreams are
Understand what is the meaning of your
yeah,
dreams.
definitely, definitely. I mean, there are. I mean, it's a very deep subject to speak about, but the dreams are taking us into our subconscious states. Dreams can be all over the place. It can be like a person from somewhere else is here, or
Very
you're there.
multi-dimensional.
Yeah, there are no limits in your dream states, and dream states allow you to traverse the astral world and different space-time uh, locations, perhaps. And that is where the deja vu thing comes from. I believe that we've perhaps seen this in one of our dream states, and then in our waking life, we are walking through some space, or we are sitting on a table with some people and feel that, oh, this has happened before. It's perhaps somewhere in our dream states we have accessed this space time. We can travel back and forth in time when you are in your astral form. So whenever you are leaving your physical body, getting into the astral plane in heavy REM sleep, you are not limited by this space time. You can be anywhere, past, present, future, wherever.
Now, I think the very next important question after this, the kind of conversation we were just having, would be psychedelics or healing using certain kind of, or they call psychedelics, I don't know, but using mushrooms and other substances like these. So that is, I think, so not understood. Very, they are. I think humans are still not completely understood the all the facets of these, not the commercial mushrooms, but of course these are the mushrooms that are psychedelic or give us this psychedelic like experiences. And there, I think there's still so much for us to understand about that. But I think you have some experience with that, and
Absolutely.
you have yeah. So what do you have to say about, like, I think people who are depressed or people who are going through some kind of addiction, it's also very helpful for them to use this
Yes,
kind
yes.
of thing.
Mushrooms are from a family of psychedelics which are called tryptamines. A lot of people don't know this because there's no formal information on this. I mean, there is information on the internet if you dig deeper, but formally in our school we are not taught so much about psychedelic plants. We are told about medicinal plants, about turmeric, ginger, garlic, or whatever, but not many people speak about the psychedelic stuff. Mushrooms are not even in the plant kingdom. They're not even in the animal kingdom. So they are a different a kind of an entity, and that is why they are so mysterious. Nobody knows where they come from. Some people believe that the spores came on asteroids, and that's how mushrooms really started. Mushrooms have a history which goes beyond any of our lives and
Oh, for sure.
life
I
on
think
Earth. Like
mushrooms are like quite ancient
very
beings. They have
ancient.
been around. I think that is what created carbon, or that is, they help decompose
Absolutely, yeah, they do that.
things even today. And there's a recent study that was done that they have discovered a new kind of mushroom that can,
Eat plastic.
yes, that can decompose plastic or thrive on plastic. So I think mushroom is the solution to a lot of our solutions, and we have not hardly scratched the surface when it comes to mushrooms. But again, coming to the
Mushrooms,
specific
yeah.
mushrooms that people have identified as healing mushrooms, uh, what is your experience, or what can you say about that?
So if you look at the history of the psychedelic mushrooms, there is only a little bit mentioned in the recorded text that we have from the Mazatec Indians and the people that who have worked closely with the Mazatec Indians. There may be a history of psilocybin mushroom use that has been forgotten, and this may have been in the Vedic era or even before that. But going back to the Mazatec Indians and what they have left behind in terms of tradition and history, they always used the psilocybin mushrooms ceremonially in a family like setting. The whole family would sit together and consume the mushrooms. Mother, father, grandfather, grandchildren,
The village, you mean, like back in the
everyone,
day?
the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
family.
The whole village or the family, yeah, the
Yeah.
extended family.
So when you sit in a circle with your family and you ingest the mushrooms ceremonially in the daytime, is what the Mazatec Indians always believed, along with ceremonial use of cacao. Cacao is a MAOI inhibitor. So any tryptamine that we ingest, like for instance, the MAOI inhibitor concept comes into the psychedelic scene primarily with the use of ayahuasca. Ayahuasca, the brew which is made, is also from the tryptamine family, by the way, DMT, which is the main ingredient in ayahuasca, which gets people into these altered states and even into
So quickly, for those who don't know what
ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca ceremony is, it is it's from the Brazil, the rainforests, and yeah, the tribe there that
Yeah.
uses that. So if you can just in a nutshell explain
So
what it is.
ayahuasca is a brew
It's a
which
ceremony.
is
Okay.
it's a brew which is made from the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna leaves, also called Psychotria viridis. So the Bikapi vine or the ayahuasca vine has the MAOI inhibitor in there. The chacruna leaves have the DMT. The shamans believe that the plant spirits themselves told the shamans which plants to use to make this brew, and they know which plants to add to the brew to add a few medicinal effects, which may be helpful in combating a certain disease. So they know which plants to use for what ailment. The mother brew is Aya, which is the Aya vine and chacruna leaves, brewed together for hours, like about 7 to 8 hours in an earthen pot. Um, and what comes out of it is the ayahuasca brew, which is very earthy in its flavor and its texture, looks muddy. Um, it's got a very peculiar flavor, is what people say, but you get used to it after a point. And it is like, I don't know if people have, not many have smoked DMT, but when you smoke DMT, the effect lasts only for about 10 to 15 minutes. You actually have an out of body experience, which is called, in classical terms, a breakthrough. You leave the physical body, you can be in multiple places at the same time. You can be here, you can be there. I mean, of course, at the same time, you won't be both the places, but you can shift. Like you open your eyes, you are here. You close your eyes, you're somewhere else. Literally like that. And you're having a conversation, an interaction with perhaps an entity or an intelligence which is not from this world, who is communicating something to you non-verbally.
So you have a very large following online of people who discuss about these things. So we'll put that in the link. So can people contact you if they want to have more information with regards
Absolutely,
to this?
absolutely. So, Psychedelic Adventure is the name of the page. You can reach us there. We also have the Psychedelic Society of India, which is a group of people basically trying to create more awareness around plant medicines and removing the stigma around it, with people becoming more open and aware of its true potential.
So it is basically plant medicine. So there's some wise people say that there is a plant for every disease that exists. Yeah, but I think humans now have if you don't, there's this fear thing where or this control thing where people say like, oh, this is probably not good for you, or this needs to be, this is illegal, or that is banned by the status quo. So again, coming back to earlier conversation where we are being controlled because of the fears related to certain things
Yeah,
or because some
pretty
things
much
are
right.
abused. But I think even tobacco and alcohol is abused,
Yeah,
but because they are commercially such a great money spinner that the governments are fine or the the corporations are fine with not
so
uh,
people,
banning it
let
or
me just
making it
add
illegal.
add there. I mean, the money spinner part of it. People are looking for an altered state because they are stuck with the mundane, with these jobs that we are forced to do to pay our bills. It's not keeping us happy. So people are looking for an altered state. And alcohol and cigarettes are just government sanctioned drugs. They are telling you literally what you can and cannot use. That is it, and there's a reason behind it. It's not just a money spinner. I mean, if our governments were more psychedelically involved or more into plant medicines, they could be spending money selling plant medicines also. We would be a happier planet perhaps with less disease and sickness. The pharmaceutical industry wouldn't exist,
The
literally.
currently the so-called pharma industry, yes, that
So
is quite
yeah,
believes in synthesis.
alcohol, tobacco lobby literally is in bed with the pharmaceutical industry. If you see that, the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry, they are all together.
Of course, yeah. So unfortunately, we are living in a time where we are brainwashed, or we don't. We just think that that is our limitations,
we
and
have
to have
we
fun,
Yes,
people should drink alcohol.
yeah, we have been living in this paradigm for a while now, but I feel it's just about time when we are going to break free from this paradigm one way or another. If we don't do it ourselves, waking up collectively, the earth is going to shake things up and wake us up forcefully, which is going to happen. I get goosebumps saying this.
Good. I like that you strongly feel about it, but yeah, uh, that is great.
Big changes are never easy. And, I mean, we have to go through trauma, turmoil, pain, and suffering to get past a lot of things in our lives. And that is part of the human incarnation, it's part of the journey. I mean, you have to go through the ups and downs and the swings. Most of us are not trying to, I mean, we are trying to avoid the lows by staying high all the time. But the lows are actually very important because
Yeah.
then you start valuing the highs and you know how to traverse this path better.
But I do feel that we also stay living in a very wonderful paradigm where we have access to all this information.
Yeah.
You know, we can advocate ourselves. We can look up uh, information, and we can understand the pros and cons of anything, and we can understand what is best for us, and not have somebody dictate things to us.
Exactly. That is why,
So
the whole movie Matrix was about realizing that we are Neo, this world is the Matrix, and we are waking up. And once you wake up from the Matrix, you can actually be in it but not be part of it. You can be functioning within the system but not acquiesce your freedom to the system. So that is I think a journey which we all have to take at some point. Today or tomorrow, we will start realizing that if you want to take care of yourself, you have to start looking at plants and the earth and all the food and the medicines that come from the earth naturally without the human hand being involved in it. That is the only food and medicine our body truly needs. But to get there, we have to get past all this consumerist bullshit that we are surrounded by, the supermarket lifestyle that we have been living. That has to go at some point. And I think we are in a phase where we are being prepared by so many people around us. Like I remember having this conversation with Elitom as well, where he's on the other end of the spectrum. And I would like to believe that he has not had food or had water for as many years as he says.
20 years now, I think.
Wow, it's phenomenal. So if we can look at that and then look at ourselves, then we can actually see that that is the path to take. A lot of people who speak about the human evolution, they say that I mean, there are people who can see into the future and who have traveled back and forth in time, and they have accessed information through even hypnotherapy by taking their patients in that state where they say that humans are evolving towards a more luminous kind of a life. From Homo sapiens, we are moving to Homo luminous, where we will be able to uh, store more light in our being. So it's going to happen. And we are in that stage where we stop eating food, eventually living off liquids, and then living off light.
Wow, there's so much more we can talk about, Abhishek. I can talk to you all day about this. There's such
Yes,
interesting conversations,
absolutely, man. I mean, we are
and it
having
was
these
such a
conversations for years now, whether it's at Beat Me Up or on the bicycle cycling around Goa. But it's just amazing, man.
Yeah,
I'm
such
happy to
a
be here.
pleasure to have you at Bean Me Up again. And we have an amazing acai bowl that we'll be having because it has got hemp hearts in it, and it's got
Wow.
like hemp hearts, a lot of protein, by the way. So those of you who are looking for protein, hemp again is hemp seeds, and in the north, in the mountains, they make hemp ki chutney also.
Yeah.
So
Full power. I'm looking
yeah,
forward to
yeah.
it.
So hemp hearts, and one other yummy thing I would like you to indulge in today is our Mediterranean meze platter. So you've got uh, tahini, hummus, stone ground, uh, uh, madbuka, which is red pepper roasted and lightly smoked, and baba ganoush, which is
Wow.
also roasted and lightly smoked. The pita breads are made using organic flour here. The hemp, you will be happy to know, is crusted with again hemp hearts, which is again the seeds of ganja, and we have got a gluten-free lavash. So this
Wow.
is our Mediterranean platter.
Yes.
So once again,
Thank
it
you.
was such a pleasure
Thank you so
to
much,
have
Sean.
you, and
Thank
I
you.
look forward to having many more such amazing conversations with you.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Sean. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.